Real Country with Robert Miguel.
KVOU Sports with Drew. Presented by Chicago Title.
104.9 Coyote Country.
You heard the man time again for Sports with Drew on KVOU.
Yeah, sports with me. Love it, Robert.
Brought to you by Chicago Title.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. 116 Northeast Street. Can reach us at 830-333-7050. Wendy Boast, branch manager. As always, Robert, I appreciate you having me here, friend.
It's
always
good to have you. Everybody loves Sports with Drew.
I love it.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Do the usual, start off with some scores and such.
Okay.
Spurs, I didn't grab their overall standing right now. I didn't have a chance, but lost to the Nuggets, 113-85. Beat the Wizards, 129-112. And beat the Cavs, 112-90. Rangers are currently sitting 5-6. And the Astros picked it back up, and they're now 7-5.
Dang,
so
Rangers.
I know. Hey, they'll turn it
so
around.
hard.
They'll turn it around.
No, they
They're,
won't.
have some faith, right? Maybe they started off hot. Maybe they can get back on
We'll
it.
see.
I told you I'm an Astros fan, but Rangers are my second favorite team from Texas, so I'm all for it.
All right.
Thought I'd jump into some basketball stuff real quick. If you didn't catch it, Tech lost to Virginia. 85-77 in an overtime win for Virginia, so they are the new champions. Good for them. Look to see, they have some guys that are going to be hopping in and going into the NBA draft. DeAndre Hunter, he's a big name guy for him, did really well for him the entire season. So look for him in the early draft rounds and stuff, going somewhere. They had a really great season. Season after becoming the first number one seed to lose to a 16 seed. So, I mean, it's a great deal. Good for them. It's sad to see Tech, but reaching it to the final two, huge deal, the championship there. But it is what it is, basketball, and especially making it for a good game. I didn't get to catch it, but I heard that it was fantastic.
It was all over my news feed, too. It was like, every Tech, I
know. I have some buddies that went there, so you know that they're a little devastated, but that's how it goes.
Let's talk about this. People were talking about, our Senator Ted Cruz, who did a little something online, and they said that he jinxed him.
See, I didn't see that, but I heard about it. And it's one of those things. Well, in baseball, here's the deal. If somebody's got, and I'm sure it goes across
You're all
the ground.
superstitious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's don't say anything until afterwards. Don't sit here and predict a win. Don't be doing that. Yeah, it might work out for you, but overall, it's hey, just keep your mouth shut till the game's over.
Well, I think that, look, you post a photo of yourself on social media in support for your team.
That's one thing.
That's fine, but I don't think jinxing, I think that people just looking for a reason to have a headline. Zodiac Killer jinxes.
It definitely is. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying in the big scheme of things, people are definitely good. If your team loses, you're looking for a reason.
Any scapegoat.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So,
I love you, Senator Cruz. You're the man.
Yeah,
it's
all right. Just, hey, maybe not predict stuff next time.
Right, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Keep it till after the show, bro.
I don't know if you heard about this, but Magic Johnson has been president of the basketball operations for a couple years now for the Lakers. And on Tuesday, a couple days back, he just announced that he was done.
Really?
Yeah. So just resigned as that. And I think it really came as a shock to the Lakers. They weren't prepared for it. It did a quote. Johnson didn't directly tie his decision to the future of coach Luke Walton, who is widely expected to be fired by Johnson this season or this very soon. But Johnson repeatedly mentioned Buss's affinity for Walton and Johnson's desire not to cause upheaval between them. So it kind of seems like this might have been just a reason to get out, stating hey, I might not have wanted to fire this coach, even though it's kind of been. I mean, there was some problems with Luke Walton and Ball. God, the Ball brother that's on there. LaMelo, I think is his name. He or LiAngelo, one of the Ball brothers. Goodness gracious, I can't. There's three of them, and then you have LeVar, who's the biggest name out of all of them. So I forget. But they had some. They were button heads a little bit, I think. And I just kind of found it as a shock because you kind of hear about this stuff happening, not to where the guy that's doing it just abruptly quits. So, I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on this.
So maybe an impending decision that he's not on board with.
For sure.
So he just bows out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that he's hurting for anything.
Right.
The guy's probably doing pretty good. And he might just want to get back to where he's living that retired life.
Well, do you think that his contribution was that great, or do you think it was more of a title, You know what I mean? Like an executive title kind of.
Probably.
Maybe.
He knows the business.
Right.
Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest guys to ever play the game. So I think that he knows exactly what he's doing. It might have just been one of those things. I mean, you stay around the game, and then you go from being on the court to in the front office. It's probably a tough transition. You see guys that fail at it all the time.
But it seems to me like guys like him with a big name, sometimes they just put you on the payroll just to say, hey, man, Magic is on our team just to bring attention to it. And the guy's not really doing anything anyway.
Sell jerseys.
Yeah,
again,
he's more of a figurehead, more of
an
image thing.
It could definitely be that.
But I don't know.
It's just one of those things. It's a sad deal to see him go. He's a legend. Has always done a lot of stuff to help the community and stuff. So I don't know. Wish him the best. You might see him in some capacity back with the Lakers or with another team. It could be something that somebody was offering him something around the corner that nobody's heard about. We could see him sign a contract here pretty soon. I don't know. But
as far as you know, they've lost the Magic.
Yeah. Oh man, I set you up for that
there you
one.
go.
Here you go. Like it. And then this is going to hit a little close to home for you, Robert. Good old Dirk Nowitzki has officially announced his retirement.
Crazy.
I know, which it's been obviously speculated this entire season.
It's interesting that he never actually made a statement until like the very end, right?
Yeah, here's a quote here
Kept
that
us
says
guessing.
Exactly. I have a quote here. The 40-year-old kept his plan secret until the end of his final home game. I think he really wanted it to be to where he could give a speech in front of the in front of the fans that have helped him out his entire career. I believe he's from Germany. Yeah, he grew up in Germany. Larry Bird would obviously being one of his big idols and stuff. So truly wish that guy the best. I mean, he helped y'all get the championship. What was that? Early mid 2000s.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Having been a Dallas guy, during the Mavs heyday.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, man, it was so funny watching my social media because most of my friends are in Dallas, Fort Worth. Just blowing up like crazy. I'm sure it was for everybody anyway, but for me it was, and then of course all my friends, they're all posting all their pictures, all their selfies, because you spend a few decades in Dallas, chances are you get a photo with some Mavericks.
Yeah, exactly.
You should see my timeline. All my friends and their Dirk photos, man. It's kind of cool, but bittersweet, man.
Seriously, it is a sad deal. Anytime you get to see a legend play and then see him go out, I truly wish him the best. He was a class act the entire time that he was there. I think he's fantastic. I think that he's going to have a good career, maybe in the front office. He might go back to Germany. I'm not for sure, but I just think that I wanted to cover it.
I want to say I read that he's here. He said he's done. Home. Okay. I've been here 20 years and I'm staying. Texas is home. He said.
Fair enough. That's awesome. Especially when coming from a different country to find a place that you're going to call home. I just think it's a really neat deal. Switching gears, going to cover just a few baseball things, not a lot, but I just had to cover this just because I thought that this is crazy and it's sad. There's a gentleman by the name of Chris Davis. He's a first baseman guy for Baltimore Orioles. A few years ago, Robert, he had a 50 home run season. Nobody'd seen it in a while since like the early 2000s and stuff with like Griffey and McGuire, Sammy Sosa, stuff like that. He goes off and signs a 7-year, $161 million contract and just kind of gets locked into this deal with the Orioles. And he is now he's set a record for, he is 0 for 28 this season without a hit, but it continues in from last season to where he's now 0 for 49.
Whoa!
Yeah,
and that guy's still getting paid. Bank from when he was amazing.
Baseball is guaranteed money.
Wow!
They're gonna pay him, and at this point, it's one of the only reason I brought it up just because it's like. From a business standpoint, what do? Do you just eat it, let him go, do like the whole Bobby Bonilla thing to where you let him go and just continue to give him paychecks and hope that you can get somebody in there that can hit and win? But it's crazy. I had to say something. He's getting booed in his hometown. Well, his home stadium there in Camden Yards.
Well, that's an investment. We've been talking about that. It's kind of a recurring theme.
It is, and it's a sad deal. I really hope, because he's a fun guy to watch, real big guy, and whenever he hits a ball, it goes really far, but the problem is
he hasn't done it.
He's not doing it. He's not.
Orioles putting the O in Orioles.
Seriously,
right there. I mean, they put a lot of O's in that paycheck, and he's put a bunch of O's on that board.
You're not kidding. He's just following the trend, man. It's bad. It's really bad. Moving over to some stuff that's I'm not a huge fan of, but I had to cover it. I don't know if you saw, but a couple of days back. Cincinnati Reds were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. And there's a gentleman by the name of, he's an outfielder, his name's Derek Dietrich, and he hit a ball off of a pitcher whose name is Chris Archer. He hit a ball that went really far, and he watched it much longer than he needed to. And so he goes, trots the bases. Next time he comes up, the pitcher throws behind him. Clearly intentional. So the umpire comes out, and what they do, Robert, is they issue warnings to both dugouts saying, like, if there's any more problems, people are getting tossed, and there's no coming back. There's fines, suspensions that deal with that. It's to protect guys.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm from kind of the old school way to where if you hit a home run, you run. You just put your head down, run. You beat that pitcher, you're better than him that particular pitch. Hitting's very hard. So these guys, they don't get to, they get to show off in front of a lot of fans. So he hits it and he watches it. Longest one I've seen in a while to where he sat in the box and just stood there. You need to go watch the video.
Okay.
So after he throws at him, the umpire comes out and he issues warning, and the coach for the Reds comes out, and his name is Bell, last name Bell. He comes out and just starts, there's a lot of choice language, but telling the umpire, like, hey, you need to get this guy out of here. That's blatant. He needs to get out. That's how we get guys hurt. So bench is clear. Yasiel Puig, who's kind of a hothead, really fun to watch. I'm not a huge fan of the way he does things on the field, but he's an excellent player. He comes in and gets in. There's some fracas going. It's a bad deal. So eventually what comes down is Chris Archer got suspended for 5 games. Yasiel Puig got suspended for 2. And then Reds manager David Bell, he got suspended for 1.
Wow.
So you can always go in and appeal. And while you're appealing, you can play. But for 2 games, 1 game, Chris Archer, I see him appealing. But, I mean, I don't know whose side to be on here because it's not – at the same time, if I was a catcher catching that, I'd be like, yeah, throw at him. Like, looking back on it. But at the same time, it's like whenever a guy's throwing 96 – there's no real throwing at guys. He gets the elevated ball, somebody gets hit in the head, that's where you start having problems.
Well, I mean, it really boils down to respect. I mean, just
very much so.
I mean, I think everybody's wrong. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's why they all got in trouble, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Somebody did something, but, 2 rights don't make a wrong.
No, not at all.
I mean, wrong way. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Huh.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, I know.
Kids, if you're listening at home, don't listen to Robert. But yeah, I mean, so that's a basic concept that we should all be aware of, and I mean, but it's a heated game
for sure.
It's a competitive sport.
You've got these guys that
and let's be honest,
testosterone.
That's a great story, though. That's fun.
It is. It's always fun to see, especially get some action into a baseball.
Well, we've
game.
established. I kind of feel like baseball can be a little boring anyway. So yeah I'm down. I love that kind of stuff.
And then moving on, we had spoken a couple weeks ago about the T.J. Dillashaw, the guy that got the suspension. He was suspended indefinitely pending an investigation for doping in MMA. He's an MMA guy. So he's accepted a 2-year suspension.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I guess he pretty much said, like, hey,
guilty as charged.
Yeah, for sure. But that brings up, Robert, like, what's going to happen whenever he comes back. 2 years is a long time, and especially in a contact sport, you lose your edge to a guy that's younger, just as fast and strong as you, that hasn't come up yet, and then you're going to come back and try to get back into it. I wish him the best. Like I said, I don't condone doping or anything like that. It's not good for the sport, especially in a contact sport like that. But hope maybe he's able to turn it around. I know he's got a big fan base. Maybe he can turn around, come back, and do something good.
Man, 2 years flies by, too. I mean, it really does.
It does. Especially in that being a big-name guy. I'm sure he'll continue to, if he wants to continue to fight, then I'm sure that he'll be able to come back. It says that his suspension ends January 18th, 2021, exactly 2 years after the positive sample was collected.
He likes dope. He can go to Colorado, set up shop, little partnership.
I don't know if this is the same kind.
Tommy Chong,
I don't know if this is the exact kind of doping, but I see where your heart's at, buddy.
Anyway, moving
on. I wanted to cover something. It's kind of deal. There's one of the LPGA founders. Her name was Marilyn Smith. She's passed away at 89. I just wanted to give that a shout out because she helped.
So that's women's golf.
Yes, so that's
LPGA founder.
That's yes, one of the founders. She was one of the 13 founders. She actually had 21 victories.
So I was going to say, so she was a golfer, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she had 21 victories, 2 majors, and tons of support on the tour. And she was actually inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame. So condolences to the Smith family and stuff. But I just thought I definitely wanted to say something about that. You know, you don't hear a lot about the founders and stuff like that.
Well, you don't hear a lot about ladies golf as much as you probably should.
Yes,
and
for sure.
especially somebody that old that helped found the that's
and
interesting stuff.
You know,
man.
you have some great golfers that come out of it. So I truly wish them the best and through this tough time. And then kind of a weird one. I just wanted to end with this real quick. There's an old baseball player. His name was Lenny Dykstra.
Okay.
Kind of a off the wall guy. Was kind of like there in the middle of the scandal. He did some time. He was sentenced to 7 years for Grand Theft Auto and filing false financial statements.
Whoa, hold on now.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto?
Yes, not the video game.
Straight up stealing a vehicle.
Yes. The guy seems like he's kind of, a little out there. But so there was a teammate.
No, is this while he was like a star player, or is it after he's down in his luck?
After he was out. So like, I'd seen some special on like HBO a few years back to where everybody was lauding him as like the next big like investment guy. He knew how to read investments and stuff, and I think that was all kind of a fluke. And I think he might have squandered some money. I don't know if he got into drugs, all that stuff, but the whole deal is he had a teammate on New York Mets who his name is Ron Darling, and he recently came out with a book called 108 Stitches, Loose Threads, Ripping Yarns, and the Darndest Characters from My Time in the Game. And he's pretty much just he came after Dykstra, calling him a racist, super bad on the field. Used to yell at guys, really mean, bad.
Like a big tell-all.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. You know how it goes. But it might have been one of those to where it was needed, that this guy needed kind of a wake-up call. But apparently, Lenny Dykstra is now suing Ron Darling for saying this stuff and saying that all this is false. I'm going to keep my eye on this one because this one's kind of crazy.
So I've got some homework for you next week. We need to have a nice happy story instead of everybody on drugs and being like, sexual predators and all that stuff. We need to be like, hey, this guy's giving to charity and this guy's doing great.
I will definitely pencil something in. You're right. I didn't even think. I'm sorry
all
for
these
everybody
sports guys are all fiends and criminals, man. It's nuts.
I'm sorry, everybody. I just tell it like I read it.
Hey, that's the news. You're reporting the news. You're not guilty of it.
I feel bad about all this stuff. I'd much rather just give scores and stuff. But man, some of this stuff is tough. But as always, Robert, I appreciate you having me here. Chicago Title, 116 Northeast Street. Can reach us at 830-333-7050. Win Dubose, branch manager. Thanks, Robert.
Once again, KVOU Sports with Drew.
Sports with me. Yeah.
See you next week, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Real Country with Robert Miguel.
KVOU Sports with Drew, presented by Chicago Title.
On 104.9 Coyote Country.